Hi, my name is Sim and welcome to Sim's Racing. With last week's release of KT Racing's latest WRC Generations trailer focusing on the new 2022 hybrid system feature, it's time again to have a look and see if we can pick up on some new bits of information regarding the upcoming game. I've also decided to add in some footage from this year's Nacon Connect where Alain Jarniou discusses a few interesting things we didn't know before, which I'd like to dive into somewhat. So without further ado, let's jump in. First things first, as a reminder, WRC Generations is going to be released on October 13th for PS4 and 5 as well as Xbox Series X and S. The PC version, according to the Steam page, will arrive somewhere in November 2022. It's still a bit of a mystery as to why the primary release date is a month later than what was the case in previous years. However, even more baffling is why the PC version won't be out for another month afterwards. I honestly would love to have an explanation from the developers because I can't really think of any that's plausible. And finally, the Nintendo Switch port will arrive at a certain point as well, but no date has been set as of yet. Right, how about the new trailer then?
Introducing the new era of WRC.
First of all, it's great to hear Bex's voice. As a commentator, she is fantastic to listen to time and time again. Secondly, the hybrid system feature seems to be resembling the one the WRC drivers are using in real life, which is good. You'll have the full 130 brake horsepower burst from the start until you hit the brakes or the max amount of boost has been reached. Once you have regenerated a certain amount of energy through braking, subsequent boost will automatically kick in the moment the driver applies the throttle. The moment you hit the brakes again or the energy boost is depleted, it stops being deployed and the cycle starts over. In other words, you won't have any control over it in regards to when you want to use it. I'm far from perfect and I do make mistakes, however I'm also not afraid to admit making a mistake, which is what I'm about to do next. I did suggest in my previous video that players might have to use a button to activate the boost like you would have done in past Need for Speed titles when using NOS. The new trailer and several articles prove that this is not going to be the case and therefore my assumption was incorrect. My apologies. Now, in addition to that, drivers will have to select one of 3 engine maps before every stage. Each engine map option offers a distinct advantage over the others depending on the type of stage or surface and the weather conditions. The first engine map might be ideal for icy roads or slippery gravel, the second for reasonable traction gravel and the third one for tarmac. The way I just explained engine maps is how it works in real life. Whether this will be the same in WRC Generations is still somewhat unclear. In the trailer, Bex says that a driver will have to select an engine map strategy to maximize power against duration, but what that means exactly I'm not really sure at this point. With Bex's explanation of the new hybrid system feature covered, are there any other bits I managed to pick up on from the in-game video footage and audio? Well, firstly, they haven't been able to improve the engine and exhaust audio by much. If I'm truly honest, they still sound very artificial and also rather similar to the previous generation WRC cars featured in WRC 10. Have a listen and let me know in the comments below whether you hear it too or I need to see a doctor. Secondly, the loose surface roads, gravel and snow, still appear to be completely flat. What I mean by that is there's just one solid surface. In reality, gravel and snow surfaces consist of a solid layer at the bottom with a loose layer on top, which creates a level of depth. Tires need to dig through the loose stuff to get to the solid layer where most of the grip can be found. Looking at previous WRC games as well as the footage from the new trailer video, you can see that there's just barely any depth to the surface. When driving in WRC 10, I never have that feeling of the tires digging through the loose layer but just gliding over the surface. Looking at these sections of the trailer footage in slow motion, you can see what I'm on about. For example, the Hyundai just glides over this bit until it hits that boulder on the inside. Going off-road on the inside should be a lot rougher and the car should be jiggling about more, but in the game it just doesn't. Another thing I noticed has to do with the graphics. I'm not sure whether that's adjustments made to the actual in-game graphics or post-editing of the recorded video footage, but the colors seem less overly saturated or bright than in previous WRC games. That's especially the case when you look at the footage of the cars in the showroom. If it's due to adjustments made to the game's graphics, I'm for it, as it looks better this way in my personal opinion. I'll have to wait to pass my final judgment until I have a copy to try out myself. Now that's about it regarding new information I picked up on from the Hybrid Cars trailer video. But before I end the video, let's quickly analyze what Alain Jarniou, the creative director, said about WRC Generations during this year's Nacon Connect. First of all, we can now confirm that all 22 locations and stages will be from past iterations in the series, except for the brand new Swedish ones, of course.
We try to put mostly all the countries that we developed from the previous iteration of the game.
Alain also went deeper into one of the new major features teased in the announcement trailer, the multiplayer league system.
One of the big new features in the game this year is the league system. The league system is a way to make the players drive at their rhythm with people of the same skill. So it's a nice way to enter in the competition with all the contents that we have in the game, countries and cars. It's a very dynamic system that makes new competition very often with, I would say, unlimited and unlimited combinations of different countries, cars and so on. So it hopefully can last generations in the game.
As was speculated, there will be a ranked system where you as a solo driver or your team will compete in. The league system consists of multiple seasons split into different weeks. Your initial class is determined by your performance compared to all the other drivers in the world during the qualification phase of the first season. The same applies to teams. The 6 classes in question are Beginner, Junior, Rookie, Professional, Champion and Legend. I do find it very odd that they use the name Rookie for the third class. The definition of the word Rookie is basically the same as that of Beginner. Personally, I would have gone for Rookie, Junior, Amateur, Professional, Champion and Legend. Now, once you or your team has been put in a certain class, you will compete in daily and weekly events against drivers or teams in the same class for the upcoming week. After every week, they re-rank the league. For example, the top tier junior drivers and teams will move on to the rookie class, whilst the bottom tier junior drivers and teams will drop to the beginners class. It basically comes down to the same system used in football competitions around Europe and the rest of the world. That sounds interesting, but this raises one major question. Will there be a feature where communities are able to create their own separate leagues regardless of skill level or class? The reason Dirt Rally 2.0 is still so actively played is because of how their multiplayer feature is set up. I mean, the average number of active players on Steam from the past 30 days is still roughly as high as the first month the game was released, something which can't be said about WRC 10 for example. First of all, in Dirt Rally 2.0 you have dailies, weeklies and even monthlies where you can earn credits that can be used in various modes. But then there's the league system where someone can set up an event or a whole championship and anyone who wants to join can do so and compete against one another regardless of your skill level. Communities can create leagues for their members only, friends can set one up to compete against one another, and even enormous competitions organized by motorsport manufacturers such as Skoda Motorsport or Citroën Racing can be put together. The way the new multiplayer league system is set up for WRC Generations doesn't offer anything of the sort. It's just you or your team against all the other drivers or teams playing the game. Even though it's better than what they had before, I don't think it will last for generations as Alain Jarniou is hoping for. It will be popular at the very beginning when loads of people start playing the game, but after a while it will have a fairly low amount of players investing time in it. The two main reasons for that, in my opinion, are as follows. Number 1, esports drivers won't compete as often in it because they will prioritize practicing and competing in those esports events. And number 2, most casual players won't be able to compete in all dailies and weeklies every single week. The system isn't necessarily going to create classes based on skill and talent, but rather on how many events you are able to compete in. For each event you get points, and at the end of the week, all of them put together determine whether you move up a class, stay in the same one or drop down. Now this creates a bit of a problem. Say for example you have a driver with legendary class talent who's only able to compete in one daily and the weekly each time. He or she will most likely end up in the professional or champion class, which is below their talent level. Eventually there won't be enough enjoyable competition because it's too easy for them in that specific class and they will quit, focusing on either career mode or hot lapping in time trial. The reverse applies to drivers competing in all events. Eventually they will end up in a higher class than their talent level would suggest. It will become too difficult and they will lose enjoyment and interest after a while, resulting in them leaving multiplayer and focusing on career mode or time trial. I suspect the feature's popularity will decline significantly with each season that passes. And once a new decent rally game releases, which is most likely the first WRC game developed by Codemasters and EA, almost everyone will move on completely from WRC Generations. That first Cody's EA WRC title is most likely coming about a year after WRC Generations releases. Unfortunately, I don't see KT Racing's WRC franchise sustaining a large active player base after that Cody's WRC release, the same way Dirt Rally 2.0 has been able to do with its player base to this very day. With all of that being said, it's time to wrap up the video. I hope you enjoyed the video and feel free to write down what you think of the upcoming WRC Generations or my performance in the video. Thank you very much for watching, enjoy the rest of your day, and until next time.